I, 23 female, have been a nanny for this wonderful family for 3 years. The family consists of mom, I'll call her Aita, dad, I'll call him Brian, and their one child, I'll call her Cecilia. I started when Cecilia was a month old, and at this point, they all feel like part of my family too. I decided to stick with them even after graduating from college, instead of immediately pursuing a teaching career, because I love Cecilia so much. On top of that, they pay me well. I'm super close with Aita. We have a friendship now outside of me being her nanny. We talk and text on the weekends. I'm always invited to birthday parties and things like that. Yes, she is my employer, but she's also an amazing person. Last weekend, I was out with my boyfriend getting dinner. Surprisingly, I also saw Brian at the restaurant with a woman who was certainly not Aita. I tried to assume the best, thinking maybe it was a relative of his or something. But then he leaned over and kissed the woman. I was shocked and just told my boyfriend we should go somewhere else, and I pulled him out of there quickly because I didn't want Brian to see me. This happened on Saturday of last week. I thought things through that night and over Sunday, and I really didn't know what to do. Ada's expecting another child with Brian, and I tried putting myself in her shoes. I decided that if it were me, I'd want to know that my husband was seeing another woman, so I told her on Monday morning. Brian is never the one home in the morning when I show up. It's always Aita. I walked in, took a deep breath, and explained what I had seen. I hoped she'd tell me that their relationship was open, or they were already separating, but unfortunately, that's not what happened. She immediately got tears in her eyes and was just shaking her head in disbelief, and she kept asking if I was sure that I'd seen him. I told her yes, and she left for work still crying. When she got home later, she seemed pretty emotionless and was quite cold with me. I got a text later that evening saying that she and Cecilia would stay with her parents for a week or two, and that she wouldn't need me to nanny until they got back. I haven't received any further communication from her. I thought I was right for telling her, but my mom and some friends told me I was wrong for sticking my nose in their business. My mom even said I'll probably end up losing my job now, and I'll admit, that has me very stressed out. Now I feel like an idiot who blew up a marriage and stressed a pregnant woman out. So, am I the idiot? Edit. This man was at a restaurant about 30 minutes from our small town. No, OP, not the idiot, not at all. You absolutely did the right thing, and for the right reasons. Her husband blew up the marriage, not you. You did not stick your nose in their business. He advertised his business in public, and you happened to see it. Thank goodness. Can you imagine being pregnant with your second child? You have that child. Then a few years later, you have a mysterious STD. So it comes out that your husband was a dirtbag cheater. And then you find out the nanny knew the whole time and didn't tell you. No way, you were right to do what you did. It doesn't sound like he was even trying to hide it. There's only one idiot here, the cheating piece of crap husband. Unfortunately, you may lose your job, but that's not your fault. On the other hand, you may end up being needed more than ever, depending on the parents' employment situation and if they split. Thank you for telling her, by the way. She has every right to know. One thing I don't get, what stops you from calling the mother and asking how the kid is and if she's okay? You said you're very close, so why would you not call? She may not be able to afford a nanny during and after the divorce, so don't assume there's anything personal involved there. Give her the time she noted before getting too concerned, but I advise signing up to substitute teach in your area in the meantime. Don't delay your future while you wait. Thank you for doing what you did. I wish someone would have done so for me back in the day. Update. I took the advice of many people here and applied to be a substitute teacher for my local school district. I should probably get on top of it just in case. Thank you for the reply. It's a horrible situation all around, but ultimately I'm glad that I told her. My suspicion is that there have probably been signs of something going on, and telling her I saw him out with another woman just confirmed it for her. I'm a male teen, the oldest of 4. My siblings are Kalia, a female teen, Thea, a female tween, and Dex, a male tween. Our mom died 8 years ago. Callie and I are the only ones who remember her, and I remember her a lot more than Cal does, but we always have shared stories of our mom with Thea and Dex. I also have a bunch of photos and videos they've seen, and they do ask about her, including asking our dad sometimes. 2 years after Mom died, my dad met my stepmom and married her quickly, 7-ish months later. At the time, they spoke about her adopting the 4 of us. I said no. There was some debate between them, and they decided to hold off until she could adopt all 4 of us. She was still new to me, so I found it incredibly weird to have someone offer to adopt me 5 months after I met them, especially when she and my dad were both aware that I remembered Mom. None of my siblings have ever called our stepmom Mom. Thea and Dex call her by a nickname, and Kalia calls her by her name like me, but my siblings consider her a parent, while I consider her more of my dad's wife. The adoption topic never really went away, and a couple of years ago I did some research and learned that adoption would alter my birth certificate, and I would be issued a new one if I agreed. My stepmom's name would replace my mom's name as my mother. I researched the topic extensively because I knew the issue would reach a boiling point eventually. I even got to web chat with a local lawyer who knew the details of that stuff. A couple of months ago, my siblings asked me why I mentioned downsides to being adopted, and I told them stepmom's name would replace mom's name on our birth certificates, and I didn't want her to replace mom on mine. I showed them what I found. Callie understood, and Thea and Dex got it when we put it into more kid-friendly terms. My dad and stepmom brought up the adoption again last week, and Dad said it would be the last time, or they would proceed with her adopting my siblings. I told them my answer remained no, and gave them a very detailed speech on why. My stepmom said I could always frame my original birth certificate if that would make it better, and people would see it, but I would still be adopted and be her son. I said no. When they did go to my siblings, they all said no, and they all said they didn't realize that mom's name would be erased, and they didn't want that. My dad and stepmom tried to coax them out of their no, but they all said that they didn't want it, and Kalia said they only ever said yes because they felt like they should, not because they really wanted to be adopted. My dad was furious with me and said it was all my fault, and I had made them change their minds. He said I robbed them of the security adoption would provide and effectively ensured that they would never truly see our stepmom as mom after such a big line in the sand was drawn. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You said no. They need to accept it. And it is on Dad to have a will that expresses his wishes, should he die next month, for your siblings in your living arrangements. The "you can hang up your original birth certificate" is a bunch of BS. You do that, and the next thing you know, stepmom and dad will ask you to put it in location X because stepmom's feelings got hurt. You made your position 100% clear. She's not your mom. You don't see her as a mother. You are a hero for researching and educating your siblings on their options. That is what any responsible loved one of your minor siblings should do in this situation. They should be fully informed of their options in any case where a permanent legal change is made on their behalf. Your dad and stepmom's approach was inappropriate if it did not include this. Your dad has a right to feel sad about the choice, but he doesn't have the right to pressure anyone about it. They need to respect your boundaries. My ex and I, 43 female, got divorced 4 years ago because he cheated on me. We have a preteen son together. Ex is going through some kind of midlife crisis, I guess, and keeps dating different women. His new toy is a young girl in her early 20s, and he seems to be serious about her. They got engaged a few months ago. A few days ago, when it was my custody time, my son was invited to my ex-mother-in-law's home for her birthday. When it was time to go after my son and bring him back home, my ex-mother-in-law insisted I go in and eat some cake, and I agreed. My ex's new toy was there, and talking to my ex-sister-in-law. She asked her how many kids she was planning to have, and she answered that she had always wanted 2 kids, and since she already had a son, She just wanted one more, hopefully a girl. Newsflash, she doesn't have any kids. She was talking about my kid. I told her to never refer to my son as hers again and reminded her that she doesn't have a child and my son is only mine. She called me a crazy witch and asked me if I was about to leave soon. I took my son and left. Am I the idiot for reminding my ex's new fiance that she doesn't have a child? Edit. My son adores her. When he comes to my house, all he can talk about is how cool Hannah is. It feels like she's trying to alienate me. You are the idiot. Babe, you're alienating yourself with your jealousy. Don't make your son choose between you two. You might not love the result. The dehumanizing way you're talking about a human being is horrific. She is not a toy. She's a person. If you hate your ex this much, fine. But redirecting your hate for him at someone completely innocent in your separation is unacceptable. And for the record, your son is not only yours, he's your ex's child as well. And if your ex does marry this woman, she will be a stepmother. And you've made an enemy of her already. It's not a smart move. This all the way. Good grief, OP. Tell me you're bitter without telling me you're bitter. Your ex did a bad thing. Not this woman, neither your son. And you know that sooner or later, your son will have a stepmom. Your ex found a woman willing to treat your son like her own and not try to throw him away to start her own family. That's a blessing, not a curse. Stop throwing good parenting by the window and start by thinking about what's best for your child. OP, I mean this in the nicest way possible. Are you in therapy? This guy did a number on you, and you're holding on to much well-deserved resentment. But this is not good for you. You deserve to be able to move on. Yes to this. Geez, honey, get some therapy. Referring to the person who will have a ton of contact with your child as your ex's toy is gross behavior from a grown woman. And considering you're harping on the fiance's age so much, it is shockingly immature. This new woman didn't destroy your marriage. Your husband did. Get over this. Get help. You're a grown 43-year-old woman acting worse than a teenager. Yes, he's not her biological son, but she wants to treat him as if he is her son. You should be grateful. I lost my great-grandma in January. She had been sick for a really long time. I, nearly adult male, was close to her because she and my dad were very close when he was a kid, and she was the grandma who helped take care of the grandkids while the parents worked. My dad always said she was the greatest person. He died when I was 8, and our relationship was extra special after his loss. My parents were separated when my dad died, and my mom had sort of moved on already. 2 years later, she moved in with her now husband and my stepsister, who's 5 years younger than me. My paternal family never invited my stepsister along to things. Only some have met her in passing. My great-grandma never met or spoke to her, and they had no relationship. When great-grandma died, she left all the family something. I got my great-grandpa's watch that she had some work done on to make it work and look a bit more modern today. Of course, this was done before she died. The watch had her and great-grandpa's initials, and he wore it every day until his death. I also got some photos of hers and a blanket she had made for my dad that everyone agreed I should have. My stepsister asked a few days after I got the stuff why she never got anything. My mom and her dad were like, I'm sure there are some things. Mom even called my grandma to ask about something for my stepsister, and grandma told her only family was left or entitled to great-grandma's things. My mom was trying to tell my stepsister that she should have gotten something and they would figure it out. My stepsister asked me and suggested we share the photos and blanket. I told her no and said she didn't get anything from my great-grandma because they never met or had any relationship. I told her she was my dad's grandma, not my mom's, and they were not family. My stepsister was still upset and started to cry. She asked why I have a whole other family that she doesn't, and why don't they want to include her. She's autistic and doesn't always understand social things. She's also had an interest in being around my paternal family. My mom told me it was disgusting to say those things to her and that I should be ashamed for upsetting her and making her feel unworthy. She also told me she was ashamed of how flippant I was about my little sister being left out. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. There's no point in sugarcoating it for her. The best thing to do was to be upfront. This side of the family is not related to you, even in marriage, and these items hold a lot of sentiment for us. You did the right thing. Your mom, however, did not, by getting her hopes up and then wondering why she cried over this situation. I feel like with her autism, and normal people feel this way too, she has FOMO, fear of missing out. So you have this whole life with your dad's side of the family, and she might feel like she, I don't want to use the word entitled, has a right to that relationship somehow. Sure, because the mom totally didn't reinforce the idea that stepsis should get something. Mom probably believes it's only fair if both teams win a sports game. People like that drive me nuts. There's nothing wrong with experiencing sadness or disappointment. It doesn't feel good. This trend of parents expecting their kids to be generous with their spoiled siblings is strange to me. Is it hard to tell her that she doesn't get anything from a stranger? Your mom and stepdad are raising your stepsister to be very entitled. I've read too many stories, and I'm concerned about the safety of your memory objects. I worry that someone will take some or all of them and give them to your stepsis. I worry that your stepsis might destroy them in anger someday. Storing these lovely memories with a trusted friend or family member might be worthwhile until you're out of the house. My 5th grade son is part of an after-school program. Basically, he stays in the yard and plays with his friends and does activities. It's like an after-school camp. I work near his school and took a late 3 p.m. lunch today. I went to the grocery store and was puzzled by all these kids running rampant. I realized they were from my son's school. Then I saw this short blonde-haired kid who looked like my son chasing this kid who looked like his best friend with a bag of sugar and weaving between people. As he got closer, I realized this was my son. As he ran past me, I pulled him into me and told him to calm down. He realized it was me and asked why I was there. I said I was on lunch and why is he there? He told me his teachers took the after-school camp to the store to buy snacks. He asked me to let him go, and I said no. I told him he knew how to act in a store, and as his dad, his behavior was embarrassing. I took him to one of the teachers and asked if he belonged to him. He said yes to him and another teacher. He asked what was wrong and if I could let him go. I said he and the other kids are running around the store like a playground, and you and Mrs. Daniel should be watching them better. Oh, and I'm his dad. Mrs. Daniel came over and asked what was wrong. I told her what I told the other teacher. She said I knew you looked familiar and laughed. I said, this isn't funny. You better handle my son's behavior or I will, and no one will like it. The guy teacher said, please don't talk down to us like that. I said, then please do your job. You are the idiot. How can you criticize those teachers' work when you couldn't even teach your child to behave in a store in the first place? If you want to lecture the person responsible for your kid's terrible behavior in the store, find a mirror and give yourself the business. Oh, you are the idiot. Maybe if you have such high standards, you should watch your kid so it goes your way. No part of your story asks if you were the idiot because you don't think you're wrong. So why are you here? For us to butt pat you and tell you what an excellent parent you are? You berated teachers for failing what you couldn't even do. You clearly can't parent your child, who sounds like a menace. It's god-awful parents like you who make the lives of teachers exponentially more difficult. Little Johnny would never act like that with me. Yeah, okay, buddy.